There was a frog that was running really low on water, and he started to get concerned because he knew he only had a certain period of time before all of the water ran out. And so he convinced two birds to grab a hold to two sides of a stick while he bit on the middle, and he asked them if they can fly him over to a nearby pond. And they were thinking, will this work? And if it doesn't work, it's not our fault. So they did agree to do it. And so as they were flying, you had these two birds, you had one stick, and you had a frog that bit in the middle of the stick. And it's like a sight to see. If you see, just two birds and you see a frog in the middle of it, biting a hold to it, like that would sound like really interesting, and maybe even impressive to some people. And so down closer to the pond was a cow, and the cow was just grazing, and all of a sudden he looked up and he see these two birds and this frog that's bitten in the middle, and he was like, wow, that is brilliant. Like, who came up with that idea? Because he knew that they were going to the pond, so he knew that the frog needed to get to water, relatively soon. And he said, wow, what a phenomenal idea. Who came up with that idea? The frog just could not resist, because he came up with the idea. It was his idea. He just could not resist. And as he was falling to his death, about to plummet to the ground, right before he knew that he was about to die, he said, I did. It was my idea. It was my idea. And he just couldn't resist. And as you know, seconds later, he died. What's the point of that? The point of that is there are times when we know we did something. Like, we know that we deserve the credit for it, but sometimes the best thing you can do is just stay humble. Just stay humble and have the certainty and the confidence to know that you did it, and you don't really need credit from people. Because one of the things that a lot of us as humans, myself included, I'm not excluded from this either, is sometimes we rely on other people to make us feel a kind of way that can't really come from them from a long-term perspective. And I want to talk to you about how to live the ultimate lifestyle. I want to give you about 5 different points on how to live the ultimate lifestyle. However, it also starts with really being humble. But in order to live the ultimate lifestyle, there are literally about 5 things that are needed. And I want you to understand, this is not my opinion. Like, this is backed up by a lot of research, people that have gone through different journeys, people that have gone from rags to riches, from riches to rags and back to riches. It's come from so many different people, and it has principles in it. And the one thing about principles is that it doesn't matter who uses them. The principles work for whoever works them. And to really have the ultimate lifestyle, and this is in no specific order, is very, very important for you to appreciate something every single day. Now, that can be a person, it could be yourself, it could be your job, it could be your kids if you have kids, it could be the fact that you have food, but it's very, very important to appreciate something every single day. And you might be somebody who's like, man, this world is crazy, like, how can you appreciate something? And everybody has something to appreciate. I remember years ago, somebody was telling me about a story of these two sisters that was in the Nazi concentration camps. And they were just surrounded by all kind of like disease. Other people had diseases, and like they had like these bed bugs on them. And these two sisters were very adamant about doing a Bible study. But they knew that it was a great chance that if they got caught, they were going to die. Well, the soldiers never came inside like their corridors because, number one, they knew that these people had disease, but also they knew that they were infested with like these bed bugs and just different bed bugs on them. And long story short, these two sisters were able to do this Bible study for about 3 months, and they transformed a lot of people's lives. Now, what does that have to do with anything? If it had not been for those bed bugs, and if it had not been for the diseased people around them, those soldiers would have came into their corridors and probably murdered them on the spot. And some people might, in a situation, because I know it's hard to picture and imagine something when you're actually in a situation, but somebody could say, how can I possibly be grateful for bugs like crawling on my skin and biting on me? Well, those bugs saved that person's life. And when it comes to appreciating something every day, whatever you look for, you're going to find it. And so if you look for things to appreciate every single day, you're actually going to find them. I remember years ago, and I might be dating myself a little bit, But I remember when gas was 99 cents. And I remember complaining about how high that was and how like gas prices were high. Now, when you think about gas prices today, especially depending on where you live, you know, if you live somewhere like California, New York, it's even higher than where it is for other people. You would appreciate paying 99 cents for a tank of gas, like a gallon of gas. And I think about that because I think about it often. It's like, man, the things that we complain about, sometime when those things are removed, we sometimes want those things back because what we now have is worse than what we're complaining about. And when it comes to the ultimate lifestyle, I promise you, if you find something every single day to appreciate, it will start to pay you dividends in a way that will yield you a return on appreciation for even yourself. Now, I would highly recommend that you find a person to appreciate every day, but that's kind of bonus points, if you will, but at least finding something to appreciate, you know, every single day. And it's also important, if you really want to live the ultimate lifestyle, to make fitness a high priority in your life. Now, you don't have to be somebody who runs 5 miles every day and you're lifting, 500 pounds. Like, you don't have to do that at all, but just being active and holding yourself to a high standard. Like whatever is a little bit challenging for you, then do that. And I'm saying challenging because whenever something is too easy, whenever we get to the end of it, we don't really feel that good about it. But when something was a little bit difficult and it challenged us a little bit, and we overcame that challenge, we tend to feel good about ourselves because at the end of whatever we overcame, we can look back and feel good about, like, man, I overcame that. I did that. Like that was me. And I feel good about that. And just overall, when you push yourself, to a limit that you think that you can't do, but you still go past that point, like, you feel good about that. And what it does is it causes you to understand the importance of practicing perseverance. Because when you're working out, like, technically, like, your life is not in jeopardy, like, you're not going to lose your house or you're not going to lose your job or none of those kind of things. But when you are in pressurous situations where you do face a real life challenge, it helps you to persevere through it because you've practiced it even with working out. So working out has so many benefits that are even beyond physical health. Like, it's a big booster to your mental health, spiritual health, and even relational health as well. Like when it comes to even interacting with different people, because sometimes we interact with people based on what we feel and how we feel about ourselves. And so when you exercise a little bit, you get some movement going on, it just helps you to feel better about you. And it's like, you don't realize, let me say this, sometimes people don't realize that they tend to attract their equivalent. When you feel great about yourself, you tend to attract other people who also feel great about themselves. And people who don't feel great about themselves, you cause them to raise their standard because they understand when they come around you, this is your standard. And that's a great thing to do because you're giving somebody the ability to operate at a higher level than what they're comfortable with or what they're used to. And it's like, once you do that, you start to experience life on a higher level, and the people around you actually raise their standard as well. Now, the next thing that's really critical is spiritual growth. It doesn't, well, let me say this. For me, like I read the Bible, and I know there's a lot of people who read different things or whatever, but spiritual growth is spiritual growth. I'm not talking about religion. I want to be clear in saying that. Spiritual growth is very, very critical. And it's like when you think about somebody who does not brush their teeth for, a month, if you will, think about their hygiene. Like, their teeth are it's only going to be a matter of time before they fall out if they go like months at a time without ever brushing their teeth. Spiritual growth is the exact same way. It's like if you go for months or even years at a time without truly feeding your spirit man or spirit woman, if you're a female, there's only going to be a matter of time before you fall apart and you neglect yourself. And here's the thing, it looks different for different people. So like for me, prayer, fasting, and meditation, and reading my word on a daily basis, like those things are very important to me. And I can see an extremely noticeable difference over the years. And it's like, if you do something and you see a result, nobody can argue with those results. Like, it's not about religion, but it's about truly growing spiritually. And it's like, once we grow spiritually, we give other people permission to do the exact same thing. And when you grow spiritually, you feel better about yourself. You show up differently in the world, and it just causes people to just respond to you in a totally different way because of what they see that sometimes you don't even have to say. Because when you really focus on growing spiritually, like, you communicate a lot of things without ever saying a word. And sometimes that's phenomenal, because so often, people say things to try to make up for other areas where they feel insignificant in. And it's like sometimes the greatest spokesperson for you is your lifestyle. Sometimes the greatest thing you can say is nothing whatsoever out of your mouth, because we don't realize that our actions communicate more truth than we can ever communicate out of our mouths. And it's like when you grow spiritually, like that's all that anybody really needs to hear or needs to see, because it shows them and it says everything that a person can possibly communicate. So spiritual growth is very, very critical to truly living the ultimate lifestyle. And I'll tell you something else that's really very closely knit, even though people don't realize it, is financial intelligence. Like financial intelligence and spiritual growth are very, very closely knit. And I would encourage anybody to educate themselves on a regular basis. I won't even say every day. If you can do every day, like that's great. But whatever you can do to stay consistent, because again, it's all about consistency. But financial intelligence is very critical to educate yourself on a regular basis. It's not about you becoming a millionaire or a billionaire or a trillionaire, none of those kind of things. It's like once you understand how money works, you can use it as a tool, because most people are used by money instead of using money for what they want and what they desire and what they want to do for other people, because money is a tool. And if we understand it as a tool and we understand how it works, it's like work. Like all work works. It either works for you or works on you. And it's like money is the same way. Money can work for you. It can work around you. It can work in you. It can work through you, and it can work on you. But most of us, because we don't have a certain level of financial intelligence, we never get to any of those levels, but instead we just work for money. But there's so many other areas that work for us in the area of money, but until we understand how they work, we'll never experience it. And so financial intelligence is one of those things that once you truly understand it, and again, it's not about how much money you have, but once you understand financial literacy on a higher level, like that will like largely contribute to you living the ultimate lifestyle. Because the thing that I'm very adamant about, every single person that I can to help do this, I want to help, because I'm really adamant about freedom, finances, and fulfillment. Because I think that once somebody has those three things, like that is a part of the ultimate lifestyle. That is a part of like living at the highest level and getting the most out of yourself and doing the most good in the world and showing up the best in the world. Because when you have those three things, nothing is missing. And when nothing is missing, like that is when you're living the ultimate lifestyle, as a lifestyle, not as a day, not as a week, not as a month. Like that's the lifestyle. And it doesn't mean that every single day is going to be perfect, because like that's not realistic. Because sometime in order for us to appreciate up, we have to go down first. And so that doesn't correlate to every single day like being perfect. Like it doesn't even work out like that. Now, the next thing that I also want to talk about, which is very, very important, is we have 6 needs. And I won't go through all of what those 6 needs are, but the last step in those 6 needs, or the last 2 needs out of those 6, is contribution and growth. And you think about people that have a lot of money, but they hoard it, like they don't contribute to anybody. They might be sick, or just unhappy or sad or evil or whatever. It's like that money cannot rescue them out of the prison that they're in, because they haven't understood these last 2 needs out of the 6, which is contribution and growth. And I want to be very clear in saying this: super wealthy people, like they don't owe anybody. Like they don't owe people money. Like that's the thing. Like people talk about giving back all the time, and I understand the sentiment of it. But when you think about giving back, that communicates that you took something away. So you can give, but unless you really got from some source, you're not giving back. You're just giving. And wealthy people, like they don't owe anybody. They don't really owe anybody anything unless they got something directly from them. Like they don't owe people, wealth and money just because they have a lot of it. Like that's not something that somebody owes somebody. Because even if let's say you got $10,000, but somebody else only has $1, like do you owe them, some of your money just because you have almost 10,000 times the amount of money that they have? Absolutely not. Wealthy people are no different. However, when it comes to contribution and growth, when you contribute to others, and you can contribute in different ways where it doesn't even take money, but when you contribute to others, that causes you to feel good about yourself. Like there's the ancient book of wisdom that says it's more blessed to give than to receive. I remember, years ago, I was looking for a car, and I remember, man, I won't even tell you about the car because like it's out of style now, but it was a phenomenal car. You know, it had loud music, like that was the style back then. It had rims on it. It was great, and I remember my dad helped me get that car. And a few years after I got that car, my dad was telling me that he was more happy to see me happy about this car, probably more so than I was happy even having the car. And I recently experienced that for myself because there's things that, you know, I was able to give my children, and it's like, yeah, they were happy about it, but I think I was more happy about being able to give it to them and seeing them having it than I was or than they were to actually have it. And so contribution is very, very critical, because even when people give somebody a gift, it's like, if their response is just off the chart and they're like, man, this is great, you know, this is thank you, you feel so good because you caused that moment and you caused that experience to happen. And so when we contribute to other people, it caused us to grow in certain areas. And I'll say this, if you're like one of the 85+% of Americans that have ever thought about writing a book, like writing a book is a phenomenal way to contribute, not just, you know, to yourself, your own enjoyment, your own fulfillment, and financially. It's also a way for you to contribute to society. It's also a way for you to contribute to your family. It's also a way for you to contribute to your business if you're a business owner. And if you have any interest at all in that, I want to show you how to write a life-changing book that pays you for life. So if you have any interest in that at all, go to bookwritingsecrets.com. Now, when it comes to growth, all of us have a desire to grow. And we grow in different ways. We grow in different areas. And we grow at different times and different speeds. But growth is very critical for all of us. And this is one of the main reasons why you have people that grow up in an environment their entire lives. And they just want something different. Like they want to go and see the world. They want to go see different parts of the country. But then you have somebody who lived in a totally different part of the world or a different part of the country. And they come to the same city where this person lives. And they have this incredible experience. What's the difference? The difference is this person who's lived in the same city their entire lives, they don't really see anything different. Like they see the same thing all the time. They gradually saw the progress and the growth. So it's not a big deal to them. And so there's not really a whole lot that can help them grow from an environmental perspective. But when you take somebody from a totally different part of the world and they come into this new environment, everything is new for them. Like the shopping center, the entertainment, you know, the restaurant, like everything is new for them. So it's them learning something that they didn't know before. And it's like they're able to grow in the same environment where somebody else feels like they can't grow in because it's different. And you have people that go to different parts of the country. You know, somebody who lives in Chicago, they live in, you know, they move to LA, and somebody in LA moved to Chicago, and it's like they just flip-flop. But both of them are now growing because they're in different areas, seeing something different, learning something different, and they're learning things about themselves they didn't know before that they could have never experienced had they stayed in the same environment. But why am I saying all of this? I'm saying all this because growth is very important. Am I saying that you have to move to a different city or state to grow? I'm not saying it at all. However, one thing that I am saying is that when you find something that challenges you to think and to learn on a regular basis, that is very healthy for your growth. Sometimes even going on vacation, whether you live in the same place your entire life and you never lived anywhere else, just going on vacation can help you to grow because you see a different part of the world. And sometimes when you go to different parts of the world, it causes you to appreciate where you live that much more. And it causes you to expand your thinking. And the thing about expansion is that once your mind is expanded with a vision, idea, or a dream, it can never return back to its original size. And this is exactly what happens when people are challenged. They grow, they see something different, they see different possibilities. It's like, okay, now it's been expanded. So even if they go back to the same environment, they go back to that same environment with a different perspective. Nothing changed in the environment except them. And sometimes that's exactly what people need in order to truly live the ultimate lifestyle, is a different perspective, appreciation. They need spiritual growth, daily appreciating something every single day, spiritual growth, and not needing to take the credit. Because if somebody needs to take the credit for anything that gets done and anything that they do, they're a slave to somebody acknowledging them. And it's like when we as humans become a slave to somebody acknowledging us, we now start to do things that cause us to not be authentic, and we started to feel like an imposter because we started to chase after just being acknowledged. People telling us we did a good job. And of course, like, we all want to hear that at some point. Like, that's great. But it's better when it comes from a place of authenticity. And it's like when you don't have to chase acknowledgments and you don't have to chase being seen or somebody, seeing you as the person who came up with this idea. Now, just like that frog, you can get to the place of hydration, of water, of tranquility, of purity, of abundance, of all of the things that you truly desire, and all of the things that will help you flourish and grow and get to the highest level that this life has to offer and truly live the ultimate lifestyle. That's when you experience something that most people wish for, but they never experience in real life. And I want that for you. And I promise you, if you go through these things that I laid out here and you do them on a consistent, regular basis, if you don't live the ultimate lifestyle, you will get close as you possibly can by implementing these things in a way that maybe you never would have considered before. Now, if you go through and you implement all of these things that I laid out, if you don't get to the ultimate lifestyle, you would get so close that what you feel will cause you to understand that it is light years apart of whatever you felt before, just because of the consistency of you doing these things, and more importantly, being intentional. Because ultimate lifestyle, financial abundance, great health, spiritual growth, none of that stuff happens by accident. It's only when people are intentional and it happens on purpose. And when you do something on purpose, you live on purpose for a purpose. And it's like that purpose will propel you forward and cause you to truly be and see and deliver things in this world that can only happen as a result of your decisions.